Namaste. Welcome, beautiful souls. This is an ongoing discussion of various currently available versions of the RWS or Waite-Smith or Rider Waite-Smith Tarot. And today I have on the table the Centennial Waite-Smith, the CS Conrad Steyn Tarot, as well as US Games Rider Tarot deck. The deck left and right are both published by US Games and currently available, and the one in the center is available through Make Playing Cards. And there is a link below to all of Conrad Steyn's amazing versions of this tarot. The plaid backs, the one on the right, is the first version of the Waite-Smith Tarot that I had, though not this version here on the table, but this smaller version that came in the complete tarot kit. It was a mini version along with a mini Thoth deck. And I just thought I would show this to you here. You can see maybe on the screen that the colors are a little bit different. They're a little bit more muted. Now this one was printed about 30 years ago. It has the same thick cardstock that the Centennial Tarot does, whereas this one has the thinner cardstock, the same as the Albana weight and some of the other Waite-Smith decks that I have showed you from US Games. All of these variations do a really good job in capturing the original line art of Pamela Colman Smith. They all have the same lettering on the top and the bottom. It's just the subtle nuances that the different filters give that give you a slightly different effect. And you can see that the deck on the right is clearer and brighter, whereas the Centennial Tarot has a antique-y, slightly more muted filter. Conrad Steyn's CS Tarot is beautiful, and it is lovely cardstock, lovely for shuffling. And I have to say, of all the side-by-sides I have done of this deck, this one would be the most difficult to choose a favorite among the cards. And even this bright one here, there's some really special things about this deck, and that you see the blue of the blues and perhaps some of the truer colors, if you will. I'm not sure that I have ever sat and looked at the etchings on the front of the table of the magician. This detailed reflection side by side of this deck is one that can go on year after year. And if you do have an affinity for this deck, I can't say enough about having a couple versions and studying with it, reading with it, having it to simply have in hand and just leaf through from time to time and just kind of be in awe of what was created very early in the 20th century. And for some readers, I imagine that the brighter colors would give more information, the aesthetic may be more pleasing, while for others, the more muted color palettes may be more appealing. With the more brightly colored deck, you can perhaps see more clearly the hatch marks and the little lines created in the original artwork. You can even see more clearly the epaulette on the left shoulder of the emperor. In the last episode, I looked at the universal weight and the radiant rider weight, and the deck on the right certainly more closely resembles those two decks. While the deck on the right is certainly bright, in looking at some of the details of the line drawing, it certainly appears most authentic. And when I say authentic, I mean drawn in a way that Pamela Colman Smith drew, not like the redrawings that I've looked at in some of the other copies of this deck. All three of these decks are close facsimiles of the Pam A Tarot. Except, of course, for the background in the CS. That is unique to Conrad Steyn's design. And I wonder if the deck in the center is ever so slightly more close up. Love the background in the Hermit card. With the filter that has been applied to the Centennial Waite, a few colors are lost, and I'm looking at some of the yellows, the yellow flowers that I see in the Hanged Man card in the deck on the center and the right. One of the things I wanted to look at in this particular walkthrough is the color tones and to compare and contrast skin tones. Why in some cards the skin tone is quite red, and in other cards it's quite a natural Caucasian skin tone. Even in the Centennial, you can see the green tail with the fruit. Okay, so here's one difference. Skin tone on the hands, and we have an unusual yellow coloring on the skin tone in the Rider Tarot, which I don't see on this original version. Both the arms and the hands are skin tone. I don't know how you can improve on the Centennial Waite-Smith, but the CS Tarot in the center is really beautiful, and I think very skillful in the choices that were made for the backgrounds. And what I like about all of these decks is that there is no artistic license, so to speak. The original drawings don't seem to have been changed. And this is something that you can do when you're comparing the versions of the Waite-Smith that you have yourself, is to stare at one particular point in the artwork and just look at the details, the lines, and you can easily tell where there have been changes by the creator or the so-called recolorer. Which one is your favorite? Or maybe you prefer one of the ones I showed previously. I think as well too that noticing how the different filters, the different effects affect light in the artwork is kind of interesting. The glow around hands or heads. Now these three cards are quite different. If you look at the mountains in the distance, we have a pinky pink on the right, a purple, and then a gray. I'd say this card is the one with definitely the most contrast. I do like that there's a little bit of contrast between the stage and the background in the center deck and the one on the left. Have you spent much time reflecting on the stage cards, the metaphor of the stage, and all that that might represent? Almost appears in this one that there's a bit of stone just behind the players in the card. I'm not sure I've ever called the characters in the Waite-Smith Tarot players, but I think that's really kind of fitting. A couple things in this card. One is that the shades of green of the dress of the horse are quite different. And that might feel like a different energy to you, color having energy. And then also going back to this skin tone thing, I think one of the reasons I do use primarily the Centennial Waite is because of the skin tone color. What stands out for you when you look at these cards? Is it the background? Is it the ability to see the little lines on the wands? Does the greenery stand out more in one than the other? Does one appear more natural? Into the desert we go. What would it be like to go to a market or a garage sale and just come across a 100-year-old version of this deck? Now this card takes on quite a different energy. It's got the green in the rainbow that the other two decks don't have. I do love the cape of the Queen of Cups. Love how it shows up in this deck here, almost like a stained glass window. And in all cases, you can see the scaly feet of the King of Cups. looking a little more closely, I can see that the line work is a little bit different. This is the thickest, perhaps therefore the most original. And then this one, and then that one's a lot thinner. And I don't know if you can say that about all of the cards or not. Almost looks like there's snow in the distance. There's a little bit of difference here. I can see some different shading on the hat of the figure and the Seven of Swords. And I wonder if one color highlights the wood carving better than another. Even the symbols on the quilt. And here's where the skin tone is just a little too red for me. I am going to pull out all of the decks that I have shared with you and count them down from 10 to 1 or however many there are, and give you a quick review of what I've learned from this process. Have you thought about this background here? It looks a bit like one of those backgrounds you would see at a carnival where you shoot the ship as it appears, and then it disappears, and then it appears, and you... It's funny, I never thought about that. Like an arcade. The shading on this funny outfit here is very different in each of these. And now I'm looking here, it's almost like we can, if you have the Centennial, have a look at the shading of this figure. It's really interesting. You don't see it in this deck. I'm gonna have to go back and look at the K. Frank Jensen articles and see if I can find that card in any of his notes. What is that in the pocket? Do you think the line work has been thinned out in the deck on the right? I will see you in the next episode where I summarize all of the RWS decks that I have shown to this point. Take good care. Namaste.